it focuses on the KPIs for the standard KPIs we have, which are accidental dwelling fires, deliberate fires, special services, including our RTCs, our station and our station appliance availability. And it's for Q4, it was really quite for the incidents side of the report, it was quite a quiet period for us. The main change for the district is that I'm now the station commander for the area, and I've spent that quarter there learning about the area and getting to know the staff and personnel within it and the challenges that we have within the area. We have focused primarily in that quarter on staff recruitment to make sure our clients' availability is to the best standard it can be, and we've also been focusing on our home fire safety visits, which is our best form of prevention. So obviously prevention better than the cure in our instance of the services we provide. And obviously invite you, the committee members, to any questions you have regarding the report.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Any members have any questions for Councillor Lovell?
Nick, I note in the item regarding false alarms that you will no longer be attending automatic fire alarms to commercial premises. Would I assume that that includes schools and other council premises? And if so, I have difficulty in understanding the reasoning behind that decision.
Yep, no, that's understood. So essentially, if I just give you a bit of a history about that one, that right now, on average, the Scottish Fire Rescue Service attends what we call 28,000 automated fire alarms per year. With those, so essentially an automated fire alarm is where an electronic system has felt the need to detect a potential fire and then has created an alarm call that's created a turnout system from the fire service. On average, about 98% of those per year turn out to be false alarms. Within the Highland area itself, the last year we attended 1,453 of these, which turned out to be unwanted fire alarm signals. So in an effort to try and reduce the crewing hours that we did allocate to these incidents, the 57,000 unnecessary blue light journeys that we do within our communities, which obviously adds a higher risk, we have gone through quite intensive community consultation to identify the best way forward. The result is that as of the 1st of July, what the procedure will be that if we get an automated fire alarm system come through to our control rooms, the control room operators will ask if there has been signs of fire and ask the duty holders of these commercial premises to go and investigate as to whether there's a sign of fire. We don't believe that's going to put anybody at risk, because essentially it can be just a very quick, if there's anything that would seem untoward there, then obviously at that point we will attend where there is a fire. This system doesn't change, there's no change going to apply to sleeping premises such as hospitals, care homes, hotels, or any domestic dwellings who have already received a full predetermined appliance system in place. So the short answer there is that no, we will not be attending schools if there is an AFA right now. Sorry, as of the 1st of July. That system is there, so the responsibility is on the duty holders to have systems in place. Too often, essentially, what happens is that when we are called and appliances made available to go towards and investigate, that we can spend a significant amount of time sitting waiting for duty holders to arrive. And obviously that then creates a risk in terms of our community safety and being unable to respond to alternative incidents as well. So we really are asking for the duty holders of the premises to have systems in place which will cover the need for us to prevent us having to attend AFAs. But the main key message is we will of course be attending any fire, and we will attend any AFA that involves any sleeping risk.
Chairman, I think this could have huge consequences for the council. You take, for example, the Granton Grammar School, where I suppose the RPO doesn't live in Granton, lives in Ronex, and the same with Community, where I suppose the appropriate officer lives in Abingdon. So what you're going to have is you're going to have a fire alarm goes off. Someone is going to have to come from Inverness, or the deputy who might come from the other side of the Dava in the middle of the winter, by the time that anyone locally notices the smoke and dials 999, the school could be gone. This, I think this could be catastrophic for the council.
Nick, would you like to come back on that?
I mean, essentially, the responsibility is very much going to fall on the duty holders to have systems in place that will mean that when a fire has been identified, it will enable us to respond to that. Our responsibility, obviously, with the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, is to keep and make sure we improve safety for the people in Scotland to prevent them from coming from harm. We need to keep our appliances available. And I think that key reminder is the 28,000 types of these incidents we attend a year, for over 98% of them turn out to be false alarms. And that is preventing us from doing our core duty, which is to protect our people and keep them from harm. So with that large number has resulted in us having to go down this time where we've involved the communities, we've done a community consultation and have come to the conclusion that this is the best way forward. So we want to support the duty holders. There is the Fire Scotland Act that says that they make sure they have are aware of their legal obligation to have systems in place that will help with fire detection, and have systems in place, therefore, that make sure that when we are called out, we're attending incidents where we aren't required for action.
Just before we move on from this, Councillor Coburn, Councillor Bruce, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, do we as a committee want to register our concern about this development?
Well, I was going to come in and ask, is this happening in other fire areas in Scotland? And my second point to that was, I presume the fire rep you've been working with, as Councillor Robin has said, the head teachers with a fire policy in place, because I think it's just to make sure that we're covering all bases if this is going ahead.
Okay, so the first part of that question, yes, this is happening across Scotland. This is a Scotland-wide policy that's come in place, has been driven very much throughout the whole of our area that we protect. We have a prevention and protection department, and if the council is looking for support to assist with making sure that they have everything in place, then obviously we have that department in place that can help with advising on the responsibilities of the duty holder for any premises they have. I mean, we're obviously keen to support. Obviously, we're aware that the Highland Council has a number of buildings, obviously, throughout the Highlands, and that department is there to provide support if required.
I'm thinking completely differently. Would there be any sense in thinking of having rangers dotting around near schools and hospitals and things, and if they see something going wrong, they take action? I think this would be a difficult legal problem if they happen to be away at the time, but I'm just wondering if there's any secondary protection that one could give a community.
Jimmy, we're talking here about less than 2 false alarms a week, spread across 8 fire stations, 6 or 8 fire stations. So the number of call-outs here is not high. This is, I'm sorry, I think we should be making strong representation to the council that we don't think this is a good idea.
Councillor Coburn, would you agree?
Yeah, I think, what is the time frame for this proposal? 1st of July. I think, apologies, I thought it was 1st of July 2024. I do apologise. To allow us to get our head around. I think, like everything else, there are always different ways of delivering services, but I would be keen to ensure that all the key public places are comfortable and have got a strategy in place that meets the approval and the safety profile of the fire service. So I would like time to make sure that we're communities are covered.
I mean, do you want to suggest an action to make Highland Council head of property aware that this is coming in on the 1st of July? We also want to register that we are concerned about it as well.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We've got an action, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly, Chair. Happy to take that away.
Okay.
If I could just add to this final point, that out of these 28,000 I've referred to a couple of times now, that most of these false alarms are created by cooking fumes. They're created by dust, and quite often lack of maintenance within fire alarm systems. You know, that really this is pushing on to make sure that the maintenance systems and the systems in place are there for what they're designed to do and working properly. That's what's created that, because quite often we find throughout Scotland that that's not been the case, and that's why it's created these 28,000, which is why I've had to take this action.
Okay. Nick, just on a different subject, the question about recruitment of retained fire personnel. I think it's an ongoing. Is it a problem? Is it fair to say it's an ongoing problem? How is the situation with that at the moment? And from speaking to guys locally who have been in for a number of years, I think the amount of time that new recruits are asked to give up in the first year has increased quite dramatically. You know, training time, I think it's up to 4 weeks now, possibly, is it, compared to a number of years ago it was a week, and then it could be done at weekends or on evenings. I mean, I assume that will be a health and safety concern probably, but I just wonder, going forward, if we carry on in this trajectory for another 15 years, is it going to be more of a health and safety concern if we haven't got any fire stations or any retained firemen? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, speaking for myself, I started out as an on-call retained firefighter within the Badenoch Strathspey area as well. So you know, we go back 15 years ago. Yes, there was a 1 week course initial, and then 6 months later there was another 1 week course. But ultimately, as we've gone on, as you said, health and safety, they had to expand these courses to make sure that when we had firefighters that would go back to station following these training courses, that they were safe within the fire ground. What the way the course is designed now is that it's an initial 2 week course that they attend one of our national training centres. Once they've gone and done some months out at their station, then they're asked to go back and do another fortnight's course, which is where they learn the BA, the breathing apparatus, and the firefighting skills. It is a dangerous job. There's no getting around it. This is the first time the committee has met since we had the incident down the Jenners in January this year, which led, unfortunately, to the death of one of our firefighters. And as a stark reminder, it is a dangerous job. And we need to make sure, first and foremostly, that anybody who steps off an appliance and steps into an incident ground are safe and trained to manage themselves within that environment. There are then other courses thereafter, but those first 2 courses they are time consuming. We do appreciate that. We make sure that when we recruit people, that we ask them to make sure they communicate with their employers, and that this is one of the requirements is to be, but it's not one we can get around in terms of that training. Yeah, you've mentioned the challenges of recruitment, and absolutely it is, because it's just once we get the firefighters through those 4 weeks of training spread over the 6 months, it is a big commitment that we ask people to volunteer to come towards and do for our communities. There's no doubt about it. But we've had some success with our recruitment recently. We have done recruitment in drives within Grandtown, Aviemore, and Kingussie as well over the last few months, and that has resulted in some good recruitment responses. Grant, at the moment, we've got potentially 6 new trainees coming in through our doors in the next few months. Aviemore, we're up to full capacity, and within 1 month's time, that's where we'll be. So yeah, it's an ongoing challenge, but it's one where we've seen good success recently as well. And we're looking forward to welcoming our new recruits into the system.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Is there any other questions, members? Councillor Coburn.
Nick, thank you for that, and I'm delighted. I think the team deserve credit for the recruitment, because I know it was a bit challenging, but it's done particularly well. I know in Granton you worked really hard, and I think that's fantastic. Just one thing: a few years back, there was the fire service were looking at working collaboratively with the NHS. For falls. Has that stalled? There was a bit of a hiatus when a previous manager left. I wondered if that's being kick-started again.
Yeah, no, so within our local priorities for the Scottish, for our plan within the Highlands, we do have one of our priorities there is domestic safety, sort of unintentional harm in the home. So that would include your example of your slips, trips and falls. So we're constantly working with our partners for this. So, and it involves part of it. So within our home fire safety visits that we carry out. So as an example, in the last quarter, I've got the stats here somewhere. We carried out 32 home fire safety visits in quarter 4, of which those 26 were individuals who were deemed to be high risk. And certainly within that, advice would have been given to regards to non-fire related safety within the home as well. So it's within that programme, but it's one that's always developing as well, and hopefully we'll get stronger at.
Any other questions, members?
No.
Look, thank you very much for your report and for being here today and answering our questions. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all.
Okay, members, next item is a board discretionary budget. And pass over to you, Lewis, if you could present on this, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's
Well, granting, yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Yeah, you want to leave it.
if I may jump in, Chair, it is a purely an item for noting. I don't think that there's a conflict here.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Chair. It's very briefly update. This is a transparency item for the area committee, just to note the ward discretionary spend that's taking place since the start of the financial year. Our Badenoch and Strathspey ward discretionary fund budget is £16,000, and to date we've spent £1,500 against that budget in respect of the Gatling Museum Heritage Trust's project to bring the Landseer exhibition to that museum. Happy to take any questions, Chair, but it is an item for noting.
Do we have any questions, members?
Sorry, how much have we got left then?
So it's £16,000 less that 1,500, so that's what 14,500 is left in the budget.
It's to be spent by when?
The end of this current financial year.
March 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Lewis, thank you for that. Moving on to item 6, Grantowns Conservation Area Management Plan. Is Sarah with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
Good
morning, Sarah.
morning.
Morning, it
Good
wasn't
morning.
capable.
Good morning, Chair, members and Ward Manager. I'm Sarah James Gawke-Roger and I'm the Conservation Area Project Officer, and I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to join you today. I'm requesting that you please note the public comments in Appendix 1 and that you recommend that Economy and Infrastructure Committee formally approve and adopt the Grantown-on-Spey Conservation Area Management Plan in their August meeting. I feel that it is important to stress that the management plan has been led by the community from the beginning. It was organised by them, the funding for the consultant was sourced by the community, and they were key in approving the content of the document. From the very start, the process was led by the local community. The resulting draft plan picks up their views, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the community groups involved throughout the process for their help. The public drop-in event was well attended with good engagement. Many concerns and issues were resolved, which resulted in fewer responses via email or the consultation portal. The responses are summarised in the report and in Appendix 1. In response to the feedback, the draft plan has been strengthened to reflect climate change mitigations which will be supported. It also outlines relaxed planning controls for more modern buildings to make interventions easier via the 3 character areas identified. The plan outlines how and when to successfully incorporate mitigations such as air source heat pumps, double or secondary glazing, solar panels, and improved insulation. This is a bold move, and we are opening the door for energy efficiency to enable the right intervention in the right place. Property owners and residents have options which will be considered favourably. Recommendations outlined in the draft report will be implemented when opportunities arise. For example, my colleagues in roads and infrastructure advised me that all street lighting in Grantown is to be replaced with LED versions, and this will commence this summer with the intention of completing by the end of next summer. In addition, they have been looking at the replacement of older columns in Grantown Square with heritage-style columns and LED lanterns. These works are provisionally programmed for the next financial year. During our discussions with various community groups, including the Community Council and the Grantown Initiative, we've identified that the plan can be a valuable tool to help with future funding bids, which the Council is supportive of. It's recognised that conservation areas encourage visitors to linger longer, contribute to the local economy, and also generate a sense of civic pride. I hope that this is of interest. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any queries you may have.
Thank you, Sarah. Do we have any questions, members? Councillor Coburn.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for the detail. The one concern I have is the number of responses. I presume there's nothing we could do with that because everything has been since checked legally.
In what regard do you see that as a query?
And I'm just thinking of the active travel sort of consultation that created a lot of concern and kickback. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we've dotted the I's and crossed the T's on this, and to make sure that we really double up and make sure that there's nothing hidden or secret here.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yes, we've, excuse me, we've absolutely followed due diligence with the public consultation event. All households within the conservation area received an official notification by letter. An advert was placed in the Badenoch and Strathspey Herald, a formal notification. We widely promoted the event via the Highland Council's social media, also with a press release, and the public engagement event, the drop-in event that was held in the community centre also was part of the public consultation. I think most of the queries were resolved at that drop-in day, and that has resulted in fewer responses via the portal and via email. I think because this has been a two-stage process, we had the appraisal which was carried out in 2019. I think perhaps some of the more controversial changes to the conservation area were made then, and more responses were received at that time. Whereas the management plan seeks to protect the conservation area, and perhaps it isn't as controversial as the appraisal was at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, thank you. Any other questions, members? Yeah, I just I was pleased to see personally that we you had allowed for green energy, solar panels, etc. So are you comfortable that, I mean, if an appropriate application for appropriate solar panels was to be made, do you think that this wouldn't cause that application any problems? Sarah?
No, as long as it is in line with the recommendations set out in the management plan, they will be considered favourably. Yeah, not a problem. This is groundbreaking, actually, what we're doing here, and the interventions that we've set out in the management plan will be put forward in all other conservation area appraisals and management plans. So Grantown is groundbreaking.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. A question here from Councillor Bruce.
Thank you. In England, they're letting solar panels appear on many of the primary quality buildings. What's the plan here with within the Grantown area for allowing solar panels to be installed? Any restrictions?
Yes, we have recommended that they are on the secondary elevations and preferably not facing the public realm. So that would be on the rear roofs, ground mounted, or on ancillary buildings. We will consider applications on secondary roofscapes on a case-by-case basis.
But not primary.
No, unless it is in one of the bungalow character areas, that would be assessed on a case-by-case basis, but ordinarily, no, not on principal elevations.
Would that affect the church?
Yeah. Doesn't affect
Okay.
badly.
Was that discussed, Sarah, during obviously it was quite a well-known application from the church about solar panels. Was that discussed?
That the reporter's decision wasn't, sorry, the reporter hadn't made his conclusion at the time of the public consultation. That was made subsequently. The reporter outlined that it is a balanced and difficult decision to make, but he came down in favour of the conservation area and the implications of the solar panels on the wider conservation area. It is, I think it's important to remember it is a balanced and wider reaching decision that he took. But it helps set out the policy for us quite clearly going forward.
Members, do we have any comments in light of that?
I think some of these things need to be looked at again, whether they're too restrictive or not.
And who would look at that, John?
Well, I think it'd have to be Grand Town initiative, and I was actually going to start with one of see if we could perhaps open up things a little bit wider where we can get primary buildings looked at again.
Chairman, this report is not for a Granton initiative to approve or not approve. This is something for us as members of Highland Council to. The fact that some of us may not agree with how tight the regulations actually are, that's then a matter for us, not for Granton initiative.
So it's before us today to approve the report. Do we approve the report?
It's before us to recommend. We don't approve the report. It's the.
Well, so I beg your pardon, to recommend the report.
I don't have enough concerns against it to make a strong case why we shouldn't. So I won't be.
Councillor Coburn?
I recommend the report.
Councillor Bush?
No, I can't see it. We've been a clear route for getting things done, but perhaps wants to in the future. Too restrictive.
So you're not recommending the report? Well, I will recommend the report as well, so I think
You've got to say.
so. I think as a committee we recommend the report. Sarah, thank you very much for your report and for your time today. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for your time too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Moving on to item 8, housing performance report, and Sandra McLennan is here with us this morning. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning, Chair. Members, the regular update on housing performance for you. This report is to Q4, the end of March. In terms of repairs performance, slight increase in emergency repairs at 10 hours. We're still within the 14-hour target time, but we are working with contractors to try and reduce that 10 hours slightly. Non-emergency repairs is within target. Relet times 19.81 days, so positive performance there against a 35-day target. Rent arrears, if refer members to 7.4 of the report, that just gives an update on current the position in terms of the eviction restrictions. I have to say that the team in Badenoch and Strathspey are really proactive, so we do monitor and look at rent arrears cases on a weekly basis. 14 homeless presentations in the quarter, and at 4.3 of the report members there's a link toward reporting, so that does provide additional information on the performance indicators in this report plus other housing performance indicators. Happy to take any questions, members.
Sandra, thank you. Question, Councillor Lovan.
Sandra, it's not really a question, it's just the usual statement that the rent arrears is extremely concerning and it's getting worse. And it's not caused by any problems that we are having. It's probably caused by problems that our tenants are having, and with lack of finance. I think it's something we need to keep a really close eye on, and I know you are. But it's just to highlight it, it still is a major concern, and that concern is getting worse.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lovan. Councillor Coburn, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. My mic off to speak in Teams. I do apologise, folks. Sandra, as ever, thanks for the report. Just following on the rent arrears, I don't see this reducing in the future. I'm just hoping that your team have got the resource to direct and support residents as to hopefully whatever support is out there. I know the welfare team work exceptionally hard, but you know, as things go on, it must be getting tougher for them too. So I just want that noted for what your team do. A question I do have, and a totally different instance, locally, and I would presume this is through area committee, is it, are we allowed to have local policy for dog ownership in our council properties?
Not locally. There are provisions in the lease about not particularly dogs or numbers of dogs, but antisocial behaviour and about tenants taking control of the dogs. So we would approach it from an antisocial behaviour issue if there was an issue. Happy to discuss any individual cases, Councillor Coburn, so just come to me if there's anything that's causing concern. So the lease does actually, it's more around antisocial behaviour and conducting your tenancy rather than dogs or number of dogs.
Thank you. If there are individual cases, certainly I would come to you, but I just would be interested in the feedback from staff. Is there an increase on antisocial behaviour with pet owners or in homes? Do your staff suffer from any harassment on that front, just generically, and individual staff? I will come to you.
Not numbers that would cause me concern. I mean, if we do have cases, we do have colleagues in environmental health that can assist us, the dog warden, etc., and can give advice and assistance to tenants or indeed to owner occupiers. So in terms of numbers, there's not anything that's coming to me as a concern. But as I say, if there are particular issues, then please feel free to come to me with any individual cases and we can look at them on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you, members. Any further questions? Okay, Sandra, thank you very much for the report and for coming here today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Could I say something now?
Yes.
I've got a tenancy agreement or a lease agreement to look through for people in these houses. I think we're talking about the same problem in Winning.
It's maybe not something you want to mention here in committee, John.
Okay. Moving on, additional item 9 on the agenda, which is election boundaries. And Linda is here to take us through this report. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. I'm here to present the report on the second review of the Scottish parliamentary boundaries. They send us in the initial proposals. This review actually started on the 1st of September 2022 and is required by the Scotland Act 1998. The Boundaries Scotland must submit a report with recommendations to the Scottish ministers by the 1st of May 2025. So if that's approved by the Scottish Parliament, these new boundaries will take effect at the next Scottish Parliament election, which will be on Thursday, the 7th of May 2026. So the rules are for Boundaries Scotland to review and make recommendations for the boundaries of the 73 constituencies and the 8 regions. 3 constituencies are defined in legislation and are not under review, which are Highland and Ayr, Orkney Islands and the Shetland Islands. The overall number of MSPs will remain at 129. However, since the last review in 2010, there has been a significant change in the electorate because of the inclusion of the 16-year-old for our devolved elections, and there has been some changes with regard to population increases in some of our areas. So these provisional proposals are made available for a 1-month consultation period, which started already on the 17th of May and will close on the 17th of June 2023. Members are asked to consider these proposals and submit any comments or feedback on the proposals to Boundaries Scotland via the consultation site, and you will also find maps on the existing and proposed boundaries on their website. So if preferred, you can also submit comments via email or write to them. But if you do make comments, Boundaries Scotland would like to see alternative proposals. The Chief Executive Returning Officer has already emailed members to advise them of the changes on the 17th of May, and the convener also has called to re-establish a cross-council boundary group to meet this Wednesday to prepare a response. This information on the boundaries was also included in the weekly political and parliamentary summary briefing that we send around to members, and a press release was issued on the 17th of May. The next step, depending on the feedback, Boundaries Scotland may hold a 1-month consultation later in 2023, and further consultation may take place in 2024 on the constituencies, but then also on the regions. If you allow me, members, I will show you what exactly it means to us through a map. I actually included the map in the document, but I will show you on the screen, which will detail much better the changes. So allow me to share my screen. And you should be able to see that map right now. So for Caithness, Sutherland and Ross, we have no changes, absolutely no change for that constituency. However, for Inverness and Nairn, we have a minor change. And on the map, you can see actually the existing Scottish Parliament constituencies here. And I'm just going around there. These are the existing ones. And we have the proposals, which is, we see here in the pinkish color, which is Inverness and Nairn. And we have the bluish color for the Skye, Lochaber and Badenoch. So the changes for Inverness and Nairn is really looking at this area, which is straightforward, highlighted here, Nettybridge and Boat of Garden. Just a bit of background for Nettybridge, we have, which is the polling district I-20M. We have about 777 of the electorate. And for Boat of Garden here, we have, which is the polling district I-20J, we have about 592 of the electorate. Quite straightforward. What will happen here, it would actually go from Inverness and Nairn to the constituency Skye, Lochaber and Badenoch. The only area which is a bit unclear here, which is less populated, is the area that I'm highlighting here and in this area here. So just want to highlight that to members. I have also asked a clarification specifically on the areas that I'm highlighting here, which is basically a polling district, which is I-19F, and the polling district, which is I-20K, which is partly captured, not entirely. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, if you allow me. If members have any questions, please, or any clarification that they want to put forward that I need to request the Boundary Scotland before Wednesday, please let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. We have a question from Councillor Robert.
That's not really a question, Chairman. It's yet again the Boundaries Commission. Don't actually follow their own guidelines. Badenoch and Strathspey is an entire physical entity. So a few years ago, they decided to split it into two. And now they've split it into 1.5. I still think that is absolutely ridiculous. I don't actually care which constituency Badenoch and Strathspey goes with, but it should be the whole of Badenoch and Strathspey. That's Grant. If you drive a few miles outside Grant, you're in a different constituency. Badenoch and Strathspey should be one constituency, in one constituency, and that to me should be the end of it. I think this is yet another, just a piece of nonsense to make up numbers. And there will be other ways to make up these numbers even differently. I think just really.
You know, I would certainly agree that Badenoch and Strathspey should be kept together. Councillor Coburn.
Following yet again, and I do think that we need to do something as a council and put our comments in. But I'm quite like my comments, notice that this is nonsense, absolute nonsense. We need to represent the increasing population in Badenoch and Strathspey, not to diminish it at all.
Councillor Bruce, do you have any comments?
We're a rural board here, rural area. Why we seem to get a chunk of Inverness for good measure, I don't know. I don't see the logic behind this.
Can we put something forward as an area committee? Can we do that with us?
Yeah, Chair, I think you could probably make a submission on behalf of the area committee, committee governance colleagues, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think yeah, the area chair can submit something on behalf of the committee, expressing their concerns.
I think we have done in the past.
Yeah.
It's been universally ignored.
Doesn't stop us doing it.
Yeah, that could certainly be an action from today, Chair.
Okay. Well, I think we should go forward with that.
Yeah.
Councillor Coburn.
We're obviously going to put a submission as an area committee. Are we allowed to ask Highland Council to discuss this as well?
I think there is a discussion, but Linda can tell you better than me. But I think there is this week somewhere.
Yes, it's supposed to happen on Wednesday. So basically, a cross-council boundary group is supposed to meet on Wednesday. I think it's 4:30 until 5. So group leaders were requested to send their representatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
So I agree quite happy, Chairman, if you write along the lines that Badenoch and Strathspey should be one unitary entity.
Okay. No, we'll go forward with that, Bruce. Can we?
Yeah,
I'll speak to you and look at that. Thank you, Chair. Okay. Linda, thank you very much for that. Thank you for coming along today.
Thank you.
Moving on now, we have the minutes of the last meeting held on the 6th of February. Intend to note the minutes of that meeting.
Yeah. Being approved by council.
Okay. Do we have any LCD? We don't do that. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's anything else? Okay, with that then, I think we bring the meeting to a close.